Hello, 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 everyone. Once again, my name is Triple P, Tripple dot P, aka Pimp, Prophet, and Priest. And I would like to thank each and every one of my viewers for starting. We are getting more and more in time as time goes on. Less and less technical difficulties. We're actually almost on time. As we know, we've been trying to work on some, we had some technical difficulties for some time now, but things are getting a lot smoother each time. So again, once again, my name is Triple P, Tripple, and today we have another very powerful live stream for you guys as usual. And I cannot stress this enough because this information that I'm going to talk about today goes into a lot of deep esoteric subject matters. So if you are a person, again, like I continuously say, if you are a person that is not open-minded and dogmatic, and you may not want to expand the mind, this channel is not for you. But however, if you are a person that is deep into spirituality, willing to look at other cultures and different belief systems to learn, and even sometimes I would even say question what you believe as well, this channel is for you. So today's topic is going to be a very powerful and very informative and eye-opening live stream. The topic is, where is hell really? The answer will shock you. So I'm going to talk today about some non-traditional beliefs about where hell may be. Many of us may be familiar with our traditional Abrahamic faiths. Many of us who, again, who may follow our Abrahamic faiths, we believe that hell is below the earth, or hell is somewhere. We're not quite sure where it is, because we have already dug into the earth and we don't see anything there. But either way, we're gonna dive deep into that today, that topic, and we're gonna look and see where actually is hell. Is hell something that is made up? Is hell something that is a produced figment of the imagination? Is hell somewhat of a scare tactic? We will explore all of those avenues today, and basically, but however, we're going to look into it from a esoteric perspective, and again, hopefully, you will get some knowledge, wisdom, and understanding, and maybe a different perspective on how you view hell, because hell has been something that's been used in many religious circles to actually keep order and keep individuals under control. And we know, most of us know that, if there was no punishment, many of us would just be lawless. And so hell is being used as a type of reward. Hell and heaven, I should say, hell and heaven was used as a more of a reward system to keep individuals in check. So, but anyhow, before we get into the subject, before we dive deep into it, I just would like to make my usual announcement just so we could get some things out of the way before we get started. Any new announcements? And yes, there are a few new announcements. So far, we've added one or two more social media platforms to our program. So you could find us on all of these platforms here as well. And again, there are one or two, these two are new. And then, as usual, we are going live on the top three platforms. And however, eventually we will be going live on multiple. We're going live multiple now, but however, the goal ultimately is to go live on all of these platforms. However, we are just getting some upgraded system to handle that magnitude of load. And also, as usual, I will say we are live streaming as it stands. If something else changes, the time changes, I will let you guys know. We are live streaming every Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays at 10 p.m. And again, I cannot stress this enough. The conversation and the topics that will be discussed on these channels will be adult content. I'm talking about adult conversations, sex, relationships, cheating, affairs, you name it, career, money, The list goes on and on. Spirituality, religion. It's not really, we're not really a political channel, so you're gonna hear very less to no political subject matters. But however, a lot of deep spiritual subject matters. Those are gonna be the topics that we're gonna talk about on this channel as well. So again, like I said, we plan to go live on these platforms here eventually, again with the upgraded systems. We are working on that as we speak. And again, adult content, 18 and older, preferably, again, at best or at worst, if I may say, if you are in that range, 18 or whatever, around that range, it would be also advisable to have some type of adult supervision, because like I said, some of the subject matters are very deep and very complex. So again, if you are a uh, shallow person that you don't have any, you're not really open-minded to growth, things of that sort, then this channel will not be for you. So again, if you are dogmatic in any way, shape, or form, not open-minded to growth, to learning, this channel will not be for you. So thank you, thank you, thank you once again, everyone, for taking the time out of your busy schedules to join the stream. And again, today's video is Where is Hell Really? The answer will shock you. And I cannot stress the importance that you stick around until the very end. And I guarantee you that the information that you will hear today will be very informative, educational, and it will be most likely nothing that you have ever heard before. But again, thank you, thank you, thank you. I cannot stress that enough. We are going to start today's video right now. Oh. Hello, 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 everyone. My name is Triple P, TRIPPLE.P, and I am your astrology pimp, your astrology prophet, and your astrology priest. And today's 7 Seas Astrology Prophetics video topic will be, where the hell is hell? And yes, by now most of you guys have seen many of my videos with a basic topic, who am I? And I think the last video that I did as well, I think I went into some differences of the belief systems in reference to heaven and hell. I think so. I'm not quite sure if it was the last video. However, there are some videos that reference hell and hell also in a reference to a fear of the afterlife. However, this video will go into some, again, different belief systems, philosophical ideas in reference to where hell is. However, before I go into that, I would like to say that I will be discussing, especially from, most of you guys know I utilize a lot of Buddhist, Hinduism type of systems, philosophies and belief systems, things of that sort. And today also I will be utilizing some of, at least one I should say, one of the main principles that is utilized in Buddhism and Hinduism is the truth. There is two types of truth in reference to Buddhism and Hinduism. One truth is called the relative truth, and the other is the absolute truth. And relative truths are, again, as it sounds, they are relative. However, they are not absolute. For example, when we talk about relative truths, we talk about, for example, using the movie Harry Potter, for example. You know, Harry Potter killed the dragon in the last video. I'm not sure what the last episode was, or the last season, or whatever it was, maybe. I don't know what it was. But anyhow, the moral story is, let's say Harry Potter killed a dragon in the last episode. However, and then he became the wizard of all wizards in the episode after that.
Uh, However, that is speaking relatively. He did all of those things, but speaking from an absolute perspective, there is no Harry Potter. Harry Potter does not exist. So again, using the example that I usually use when talking about the finite and the infinite self, I usually use the example of the screen, TV screen, and sometimes the sky, sometimes the dream state, dream characters, and also the game characters as well. So, for example, the relative truth would be the movies that is being portrayed on the screen, the movies that are being played, whatever movie there may be, horrors, happy movies, sad movies, whatever the case may be, the movie is relative. However, the screen is absolute. The screen does not change. Its feelings does not change. It doesn't care what movie is on the screen. It doesn't care if it's a happy movie or a sad movie. The screen stays the same. And throughout many of my videos, I think by now you would understand that when I'm referring to, in religious speaking terms, when I'm talking about God, I'm usually talking about an unchanging uh, being or entity or thing or no thing, if I may say a better choice of words. So again, Harry Potter did a bunch of stuff in those movies, speaking relatively, but Harry Potter does not exist from an absolute perspective. The TV screen plays numerous videos and movies, happy, sad, thrillers, dramas, different things of that sort. However, the screen does not feel any emotion or any change when it comes down to what is being displayed on the screen. And also, for example, again, the space, not the clouds. I'm not referring to the clouds. I'm referring to the space in the sky. The space is not changed. The space does not change. Whatever happens, whether the clouds be relative, the clouds are changing. The clouds are being gray. It's a blue sky. Whatever is going on, thunderstorm, lightning storms, the sky does not change. The sky is not affected by the clouds at all. However, the, the atmosphere of the clouds may change, the situations may change being relative, but the clouds itself do not change. The space around the clouds does not change at all. There is no effect on the clouds, on the space at all. So that is what I'm talking about here today. From a relative and an absolute perspective, things that are relative, they change. Things that are relative, they are subjective, but the absolute is more objective and it does not change. So when we talk about this hell concept again, we will look at this from an absolute perspective, and also we will look at hell from a relative perspective. So
Before I go any further, just to go back very briefly, just in case anyone may have not really caught what I was saying, in almost all Buddhists, Hindus, they tend to use allegories to bring their point across because that's all we can do. Technically, if we really want to get technical about it, all anyone can do is use allegories and analogies and objects to try to make uh, sense of something that cannot be made sense of. So anytime you see someone trying, like myself, or any teacher or any philosopher, we can only use words and objects trying to explain the unexplainable when we're trying to describe subjects such as consciousness and awareness. We can only use objective examples because we're trying to explain things that cannot really be understood. So that in itself, the information in itself is somewhat not accurate because you cannot describe something that's undescribable per se. So that's why again you might hear me use the TV screen quite a bit because this video goes, we're talking about relative truth and absolute truth. Like I said, on a TV screen, there might be different movies playing on that screen, horror movies, comedy, drama, thrillers, whatever movies may be playing on that screen does not affect the screen. Those things are all relative. Those things are all changing. Those things are all subjective. But the screen itself is absolute because the screen does not change. As long once the thing does not change and it stays permanent, it is absolute. And so, and everything else is relative or objective, subjective. Because, for example, when we look at, again, one of the main things that we tend to not be too familiar with in the West, we tend to identify ourselves with our feelings and our emotions and our thoughts, and we tend to think that we are our feelings. When we get sad, we think that I am sad, not realizing that sadness is just an emotion passing by. And so we tend to label ourself, the core self, the isness, the beingness as being sad, not knowing that the sadness is something that consistently changes. The sadness goes away and then joy comes and other feelings come, but the I-ness, the isness, the consciousness of the being always remains the same. So when we are talking about esoteric truths and knowledge and wisdom and understanding, we first must try to understand some of the fundamental principles about who we are, what we are, and that what is true from what is true and what is not true. So this video, I'm going to go into some of that. I'm just trying to make it a little bit more easier. Hopefully that helped. Hopefully I didn't make it any worse, because I know, again, these subject matters that I talk about, they're not simple, just ABC matters. These subjects are usually very complex, but I try my very best to actually deliver the information as much easy way as much as possible. So that is what we're going to look at, talking about hell and hell from an absolute and a relative perspective, from a truth perspective.
Speaking relatively, uh, many different beliefs, many different cultures, different religions have different concepts about hell. For example, again, I do utilize the Buddhists and I do utilize Hindus, and they too, although they might be of the same cloth, if I may say, or coming from the same branch of tree, they too have different. They too also differ in reference to the heaven and hell concept. And again, this video also is going to be more of an educational purposes video. Again, not promoting a particular belief system. My job is to educate and try to bring as much information as much as possible so that individuals can make more wiser decisions for themselves, because the more you know, the more you grow. So anyhow, with that being said, so the Buddhists have a concept of hell as well. The Buddhists, they have actually, it's called the Six Realms, the Six Realms. And also, for example, just like every other religious belief, all religions, most religious beliefs, some they have different denominations. Just like Christianity, you have the Baptist, the Catholic, and different denominations. The Buddhists, they too have different denominations, and some individuals may differ in beliefs. Some individuals may believe that things are literal, some may not take it so literal, and vice versa. However, so again, some Buddhists may take the six realms to be literal places, and some may not. Just like some Christians may consider the heaven and hell to be mental places more than physical places. There's also difference in the Buddhist and Hindu concept of heaven and hell as well. But again, we're specifically talking about hell today. So again, so the hell, from the Buddhist perspective, they have what they call the six realms. And these are realms where we tend to, again, I am not here to say that this is true or not true. I am just simply trying to educate, to give individuals, more so individuals from the West, the Western Hemisphere, to give these individuals more information so they can have a broader perspective on their beliefs. Because again, if you just have one belief and you don't know anything else, you kind of could be limited. So again, this information is more so just for educational purposes only. Again, not to convince you that these things exist or there is a place, there are different realms. However, scientists say that there are different dimensions. So we can look at these realms as dimensions also as well. So, and it's
And just very briefly, like I was saying before, every religion or every spiritual practice or every spiritual organization in many cases have denominations. At one time, the Buddhists and the Hindus, they came from the same branch, the same tree, if I may say, and then they branched out over a period of time. And you have some Hindus have certain beliefs that may vary from the other Hindus. Some Buddhists have certain beliefs that may vary from other Buddhists, but they came from the same tree. Just like Christianity, you have Baptists, Catholics, and other Mormons, and all of these came from the same Christian doctrine, if I may say. All of these follow somewhat of the Abrahamic faith, Islam, and so forth. However, you still will have different denominations believing some different things about the teaching. So this teaching that I'm going to speak about today as well is called the Six Realms. The Six Realms, and this is what the Buddhists they teach something called the Six Realms that happens after life. And again, like I said, I'm not here to advocate for any particular belief. I am not here to advocate that you follow or believe in any particular belief. I consistently say this myself. I do not believe in believing. I am not a believer in believing. I do not believe in things. I know things. Everything that I believe, I do have some beliefs, I will say that. And those things that I believe, I will let you know that I believe them, and I will let you know why I believe them. I will say maybe it's possible or it's probable, but I'm not going to put my life on the line and say, hey, this is a fact, because I know when I see the sun rises in the east and sets in the west, I do not have to believe in the sun rising in the east and the west. I know I exist, like Rene Descartes said, I think, therefore I am. So I know I exist, whether I exist in a vat, like in a vat, or in some type of computer game or something of that sort. I don't know that. I have no idea what's going on, if it's a simulation or whatever. However, I do know that I exist. I do know that I am at least conscious. I would say that consciousness exists. Everything else, I cannot really swear and put my life on. So the things that I do believe, I will say yes, this is a belief, but I will say that I will also let you know that I think that is why I think it's probable or it's possible, but I'm not going to put my life on the line like how some individuals will put their life on the line for their beliefs. Belief, that's why they call it a belief. And if I remember clearly, a definition of a belief is simply to believe in something, is to simply accept something to be true, whatever it may be, without having any type of evidence that the thing actually exists. And that is a belief. So we sometimes let our feelings and our emotions lead us into believing things that we actually have absolutely no evidence to believe that they exist, but we believe them anyway. So again, everything that I talk about is mainly for educational purposes. I am more so, I would consider myself, I don't even like to label myself as anything, but if I had to label myself, I would put myself down as an existentialist, more of a holistic type of perspective. That is where I would put myself. But as far as I would not advocate that you believe in anything. Even I don't suggest that you believe anything that I say. I think you should just go take what I say with a grain of salt and listen. And if it makes any sense, do some research and dig deeper and deeper until you find the answers that resonates more with you. But my job is simply just to bring the information to you and try to hopefully at the same time broaden your horizon, broaden your knowledge, wisdom, and understanding. But I am not here to convert you. I am not here promoting any particular belief system per se. And so the Buddhists, like I was saying, they have something what they call the sixth realm. And the sixth realm is completely different than what the Abrahamic faiths The Abrahamic faiths we believe, Abrahamic faiths believe more so in just of a heaven and hell concept. But again, like I said, every religion or spiritual practice has some type of afterlife teaching, if I may say. And the six realms that the Buddhists talk about is very unique because there is no other uh, religious or spiritual practice that or organization, if I may say, that teaches this message. That's why I chose this topic because it's such a very powerful learning piece of information. So again, I am not promoting to believe anything. I'm not promoting a particular belief, a particular religion, just for educational purposes only. Some entertainment, but mainly educational purposes only.
It's fair to believe that there could be different dimensions because we do have different uh, wavelengths and radioactive with things that we can't see beyond the human eye and so forth and so on. So having different dimensions is not that far fetched of some. It doesn't have to be not true. Having different dimensions and different places uh, actually could exist. So, but anyhow, with that being said, so the sixth realm, we have, and I'm not going to go into detail about the realms and what they do and all of that because I'm not here to basically talk about where is hell because hell, this thing has put so much fear inside of us for all of these years, at least from a Christian perspective. When I was growing up, I was taught hell was at the bottom of the earth. you know, I was thinking that when we die, and I'm sure most of us do believe this up to this day, we believe hell is in the earth, you know what I'm saying? Somewhere deep in the earth. It's kind of funny. But anyhow, uh, so hell is deep in the earth, according to the Christians' belief, and many other beliefs continue to Sheol and places under the earth is considered to be where hell.
Wow. Hey, look, yo. I just want to tell you guys something. I created these videos a few months ago. This is all of this is new, and so I've never went back. I don't know what I'm gonna say. This is the first time I created the video. I never looked back. This is the first time watching all of these videos that I'm reviewing. I'm not actually. I don't know what I'm gonna say. I don't know what I said. I'm just going back and reviewing those videos. So the good thing about it is now I could look back at it and see if my perspective has changed, if maybe I have a new way of thinking. That's why I'm doing this as well. And then on top of that, if I do have more knowledge, wisdom, and understanding, I could also add to the old information. That's why I'm choosing to actually review these videos as well. But why I laugh was because I remember when I was a lot younger, man, I was afraid of hell, and I believe everybody who has a belief in hell is afraid. Woo! Hell, hell has everybody shaking in their boots. Wow, I can't take it no more. That's not funny. Yeah, so man, like your hell has everybody shaking in their boots. If you are from the Abrahamic faith, you have an Abrahamic belief system, whatever that system may be, life after death. That is one of the reasons why we tend to, like I said, that video, what I said earlier, why we believe in God, and that this is one of the reasons too. Again, because of the fear of hell. And like I said, I was afraid too. I was afraid. I was afraid. You understand me? I'm no longer afraid. I'm no longer afraid, but I was afraid, and I'm sure there are millions and millions and millions and millions of people. In fact, most likely billions of people today that's literally afraid of hell. They don't know it's a place for as a fact, but they have been told it and they believe it and they live. That's the gun. That's the loaded gun. That's behind or on the side of the head every day, living in fear, afraid to go to hell. Again, nothing wrong with it. I'm just saying that this is why I'm creating this video to give you guys a different perspective, and hopefully, when you guys watch the video as I go on, you will maybe say, wow, what do you think? Does this sound like the Buddhist is talking about a literal place, or are they talking about some type of psychological, emotional place in the mind, if I may say? But again, I was afraid of hell. That's
Hell is
funny.
that. However, the Buddhists have a different concept. They consider there being six realms where the soul or the Atman or where the consciousness or where the true self goes after death because of karma. Karma is something that is accumulated in a lifetime, and most individuals may get the wrong idea of what karma is. When people hear karma in the West, they don't really grasp the real concept of what it really is. However, karma simply means actions. So whatever actions you may have taken in this life, and you may have done good or bad, those karmic energies are accumulated throughout the lifetime and goes on later down when we die. And then based on the karmic energy that we have, the Buddhists advocate that the soul, and from a Christian perspective, would be called the soul. But the Buddhists have a different perspective on that as well. But I'm not here to talk about the soul per se. I'm talking about where is this place called heaven. So again, so the karmic energies that one accumulates throughout the lifetime, when the individual dies or deceased or appears to be dead, that soul or that energy goes into one of these six realms. And we have the God realm being one of the realms. We have the demigod realm being one of the realms. We have the human realm. We have the animal realm. We have the ghost realm, the hungry ghost realm. And then we also have the hell realm. So again,
So as you can see, these concepts that I'm going to talk about is completely different than what we have been told or taught in our Abrahamic faiths. In our Abrahamic faiths, it's either heaven or hell. That's it. You go to heaven or you go to hell, and you buried for eternity, like a rotisserie chicken or something. Yeah. Like, anyhow, so but what I was saying was also, again, we first must understand, try to grasp the concept of karma, and karma is something completely different from what we think when we think of the karma from the east. Sorry, in the west, we think of we do have some type of idea or close concept to what it is in the West. But however, karma is completely different. Not completely different, but it's way bigger and deeper than what we perceive it to be in the West. In the West, we say, we do something good, and that's his karma, that's bad. Karma's gonna catch. That is related also. That is accurate per se. But karma simply means action, your actions, and these actions are accumulated. It's more like of an energy accumulation of energy that the soul carries with it throughout the lifetime, good or bad. And when the soul deceases or dies, that karmic energy still exists, and that karmic energy voices the Christians or the Abrahamic faiths would say that soul is going to go to heaven or hell. The Buddhists would say that that soul, karmic energy, is going to go to one of these six realms that I'm talking about right now. And as I go on with these realms, you will see that these realms really do sound like they are literal places that exist today when we are alive, not so much as when we die, but however, again, some individuals will say it is a place when we die, these realms will exist, and then some individuals would say that these realms exist now while we are alive. So that's what we're going to look at about this as well.
just like, again, some individuals would assume or would say that these realms are literal places. However, some Buddhists also would advocate that they are not literal places, but they are states of being, states of mind. So again, just like some individuals would say that heaven is a place mentally, and hell is also mental, that same concept applies to the Buddhist concept of there being six mental states of mind that individuals are usually in. So I'm not going into great details about the realms, but we can see those realms being actually literal in the world today. For example, the God realm, and just for the record, also the concept from a Christian perspective, again, I'm not picking on any particular religion or belief because, again, I just know how sensitive individuals are when they hear something about their religion or their belief, they tend to just wild out. And again, I am just here to simply educate and to inform. Again, by the sixth time, seventh time throughout my videos, I think by now most individuals would understand that I am an existentialist. I'm coming from a neutral perspective. However, I believe that the Bible, like I say, the Bible said, my people perish because of lack of knowledge. And that is all I'm trying to do. So like I was saying again, coming from the sixth realm perspective, the Buddhists have a totally different perspective on heaven and hell. The Buddhist does not see any of these realms, these places, as being permanent. Unlike the Christians believe that when you go to hell or heaven, you are there permanently. You will be there forever. You will either burn in damnation or in forever and eternity, and there is no crunching of face. There will be gnashing of teeth, gnashing of teeth. Sorry, I'm not, that sounds kind of funny. But anyhow, so there will be eternal damnation in the lake of fire. So, so anyhow, that is the Christian belief, and however, that is permanent, be it heaven or hell. However, from the Buddhist perspective, these are not permanent. None of these realms that we go in are permanent. They are all temporary. Even the God realm, again, like I said, we have the God realm, the demigod realm, the human realm, and then we have the animal realm, and we have the ghost, hungry ghost realm, and then we have the hell realm. So again, none of these places are permanent. We only go there to learn a lesson or tell our karmic deeds or up. If, for example, if you were really bad in this lifetime, and you did a lot of bad things in this lifetime, and then eventually you died. You, let's say you enter the hell realm, you go to the hell realm and you suffer. It's just like similar to hell, but it just doesn't really emphasize fire per se, but just eternal suffering. Sorry, not eternal, but suffering, immense, extreme suffering and pain and suffering. However, you only stay there until your karmic, till you burn off all of your karmic energy, like, you know, owing the bank. You don't owe the bank forever. You only owe the bank until you pay off the loan, the debt. You have a mortgage, a house mortgage. You pay off the debt, and when you pay off the debt, the house is yours. So, in fact, as far as I'm concerned, that sounds a little bit more, you know, less harsh than being punished for eternity. So again, that is the concept of the Buddhist concept, that the hell realm is someplace that you would go temporary. And again, just like the hell realm, the God realm is temporary. All of the realms are temporary. You don't go there and stay forever. But however, we see a lot of these traits, these realms in reality as well. That is why.
And so, just briefly, going back very briefly, like I said, the Buddhist concept of after death, what happens after death, is completely different from the more of the Abrahamic faiths, because the Abrahamic faiths believe that the punishment or the reward will be permanent. If you go to heaven, you're going to go to heaven and you're going to be in heaven for eternity, drinking milk and honey, walking the streets of gold, you know, freak offs. Bad joke, but either way, you know, they think that you're going to be going there and it's going to be a big, big party for eternity. And then they also believe that if you go to hell, you're going to be in eternal damnation in the lake of fire that cannot be quenched for eternity. And so, like I said earlier, very briefly, I think, me personally, I think eternal damnation is somewhat kind of harsh. I cannot really see, you know, that sounds kind of harsh. I know the book says it, and I know everybody say, hey, the book says it, so that's what it is. But again, the book was not written by God per se. you know, man wrote the book. The book was inspired per se by God and so forth. But man again wants to have control, and they want to have fear to control the masses. So the eternal damnation sounds a lot more powerful than anything else. But again, I just really can't see all loving God, all kind God, all knowing God punish somebody who for life, for eternity. Most of us can't even imagine what 100 years being alive. Most of us can't even think of being alive for 100 years. Most of us don't even think we'll even live to see a hundred years old. Most of us think that if we see 80 years old, we think that we have made it to the end of the world. So most of us cannot fathom what eternity or infinity even is. We cannot wrap our brains around the concept of forever. That is something that we cannot even grasp. So, Joe, so someone just a child or someone being younger and dying, and individuals who may have not known about the Bible and all that. These individuals died, and then now these individuals are going to burn forever and ever and ever for such a short life and for such menial, trivial mistakes. I really don't see it. So, but again, hey, that's just me. I'm not here to question anybody's belief. At the same time, if I were to believe anything, I mean, I'm saying I don't believe in believing, but the Buddhist concept of uh, temporary punishment sounds a lot better than anything else. To me, that sounds the closest. That sounds more reasonable. Hey, you're gonna go to hell. You're gonna suffer and suffer until all your bad deeds, the karmic deeds, are burned off. Like I said, it's like going to the bank. You get a loan from the bank. You don't pay the bank forever and ever and ever and ever. You pay the bank, and when the loan is up, you discontinue paying the loan. When your mortgage is paid off, you discontinue paying mortgage. However, you will always be paying some type of home insurance or some property tax or something. Especially if you live in America, you will always be paying for something. But the moral of the story is, after the debt has been paid, you are free. So the Buddhist concept of hell, heaven and hell. Again, all of the six realms are temporary. None of the realms are permanent. But those realms sound, a temporary punishment sounds more accepting to me. Get punished, be punished, even if it's 1,000 years, get punished for 1,000 years and then get a new start, try all over again. You know what I mean? That sounds a lot more cool to me than actually just getting whipped and lashes forever. Man, come on, man. That don't,
I said that some individuals say that these places are literal, some say that they are metaphorical places for the existence of reality today. For example, the God realms are where you go if you are pretty much, a saint all your life and you did all good things and you didn't do any bad things. At least everybody does something bad at some point, but you did many good things. You helped the poor, you did all these good stuff. You would end up in the God realm. However, their credits, if I may say, will also run out in the God realm. And the God realm, actually, you don't be there forever, but however, you have the ultimate power, just like being a God. But again, we're not talking about a big G God here. We're talking about small gods. You will become a small God. You will be rewarded with a life of having immense pleasures, immense luxuries, things of that sort, material things, mansions, whatever the case may be.
let's not forget the freak offs.
You have those things. So we could see an example of the God realm also in the world today. The 1%, the people who are considered the 1%, the very top elite, those individuals would be considered living in the God realm. These individuals make all the rules. They have all the say. They hide behind the scenes. At least I shouldn't say they hide behind the scenes. They are behind the scenes and they dictate how policies goes. They do everything from behind the scene. And individuals who are in the human realm, they tend to have to just go to work and do whatever. But again, just like the God realm inside of the Buddhist Six Realm perspective, that realm is also seen in reality today. Again, the God realm individuals, the 1% who dictate, who make the rules, the laws, they have all the land, they have all the property, they have all the gold, they have everything. These are the individuals would be considered living in the God realm. Then you have the demigod,
So the first realm that I covered was the God realm. And the God realm, again, like I said, none of these realms are permanent. All of the realms are temporary. After a period of time, you're in the God realm, you'll be kicked out of the God realm as well, and you will go to a lesser realm. And like I said, just like it says, the God realm, we're not talking about a big G God. You're not the ultimate God. There are many gods, and in the God realm, you have the ultimate power. You are above. You're like on a pyramid. You are at the pinnacle, at the peak of the hierarchy in the realms, and so you make all the decisions. You have all of luxuries, you have all the pleasures, you have everything. You have no one to really challenge you. You are at the peak, and just like in the real world, we have the one percenters and the 10%ers, specifically the one percenters. These individuals who are, they would be considered like they are in the God realm. They have everything. They dictate the rules, the laws, and they make everything happen behind the scenes. And no one really know who they are. No one really sees them. They just have all of these individuals in secret societies and all of these families with these big names in society that pretty much, like I said, dictate the politics and politicians, and they have everything in their hands because they were the ones who really shape society and mold the masses. Those individuals will be considered in the God realm. So as we go on, you will see that what you will notice is that the realms that the Buddhists talk about, the six realms, though they may be places that may be in spiritual realms, these places actually exist in the real world today. That is why I said some Buddhists would say that these realms are literal places in the world today, and then some people would say, some Buddhists would say that these realms are more so figurative metaphors and allegories of the mind, emotional states of the mind, suffering in the mind, pleasures in the mind, so forth and so on. But that was the God realm, and now we're going on to the demigod realm.
Demigod realm, the demigods are the individuals who may be less than the gods. Again, we're talking about the small g. We're not talking about any big G's here because the Buddhists do not have a big G God. There is no ultimate God per se. However, again, different concept than what we are used to hearing in the West. So again, just making that clear, these individuals are also small G's. They are not big G gods. So again, so the demigods, which will be a second level down, they would be more so like, for example, a demigod would be when we look at this from an earthly perspective.
Just for the record, again, think of this, all of these gods, think of us like a pyramid, starting with the demigod, sorry, with the god realms going down to the demigods, and just going down and down and down until we enter the hell realm.
A star, a very, you know, uh, a very big superstar would be considered a, a demigod. These individuals also are in the hierarchy in society. They too have great influence. They have thousands, millions of followers, and they influence people, and they live in nice houses and mansions and different things of that sort. They are just one level below the God realm. However, they are not as powerful as the God realm, as the God space per se, because the people who are in the God realm, they also dictate to the stars. They tell the stars what movie roles to take if they don't do it, and vice versa. I think we understand what I'm talking about. If you don't, you have to produce a certain amount of songs. You have to do this. There's still somebody above the star. There's still somebody dictating to the movie star, telling them what they could do, what they can't do, what roles they could play, and so forth and so on. So these individuals are actually not per se uh, the ultimate authorities. They are still higher than the human realm, because remember, like I said, there's six realms. We have the God realm, we have the demigod realm, we have the human realm, we have the animal realm, then we have the ghost realm, the hungry ghost realm, then we have the hell realm. So again, the demigod realms would be considered stars if you have great influence. Even a big YouTuber, someone who has millions of followers, who makes millions of dollars a year, these individuals also would fall under a demigod status, because these individuals too have way more authority and say than the actual individuals in the human realm who has a regular 9 to 5. And I'm not saying that the gods, the demigods, they have to work also. They have to work at their craft. They have to continually do it. They have to continually do what they do. Again, they are not as high as the gods in the god realm, but however, they are much higher than everyone else. They are in second on the list, on the tier of the hierarchy in the 6 realms, according to the Buddhists. So again, the God realm, the highest realm, the authorities, but you don't stay there forever. And actually, the God realm is actually, it sounds great per se. However, the God realm is one of the realms where you can actually uh, make, you can actually digress the most, because when you are in luxury, when you are having the most material things in your life, and you have all of these things in your favor, what happens is we tend to not really care about anything else about other than our lives. And in most cases, I'm not saying all cases, because there are a lot of individuals who are in the God realm. They do a lot of charity work, they do a lot of giving, they do a lot of philanthropy, they do a lot of caring for individuals who are in less positions. However, because the life is so easy per se, you have everything at your fingertips. Sometimes you, again, from a biblical perspective, what does it gain a man to gain the whole world and lose his soul? So it's a lot more easier for someone in the God realm to become complacent and not be too concerned about the things of the soul, and because they don't necessarily suffer as much as the individuals on the lower levels. So when the individuals, as you go lower on the tier of the 6 realms, you will see the individuals being more compassionate, more kind, and more loving, because these individuals, as they say, they will be more down to earth, if that makes any sense. So again, the God realm sounds great per se. However, everyone will have an opportunity to go through all of these realms. No one stays in the one realm forever. That is why the goal of the Buddhists is to break free of the wheel of incarnation, rebirth, and to break free from the cycle of coming back and experiencing all of the suffering that comes along with being alive in the human realm or any.
So that was some very, very powerful stuff. I just don't want to just run over that so quickly and just bypass that. Like I was saying, the realms, the God realm being the highest realm, and like I said, the God realm, though it may have all of the luxuries and it might have all of everything, the God realm is one of the most easiest realm to digress in, because after having, just like humans as well, we all know sometimes if life is too easy and you have everything handed to you on a silver spoon, you are most likely going to, not take life so serious. You're not going to. It doesn't happen all the time. Some individuals still have drive, some individuals still have push, but sometimes it's not so great. Even if you have kids and you have all the money in the world, it is still very good to actually teach your kids to fight for what they want. Teach them. You could help them. You could assist them. I'm not telling you should let them suffer if you have it. Hey, by all means, send them to the best schools. Give them the best education. Put them in the best position for them to become the best possible versions of themselves. I'm not saying that you shouldn't help them. I'm saying to you is that, but however, helping them, but actually is different from giving them everything, and so they don't know the value of anything is what I'm talking about. If you give them everything, they could come out to be snobs, they could come out to be less human per se, and that is what happens in the God realm. Individuals that has everything, they sometimes become non-human, and they tend to maybe look down at others, and they tend to, don't really, because they cannot relate to the suffering, they cannot relate to the struggle, they cannot relate to anything. So they may be less, they might be more inclined to be less humanitarians, if I may say. And yes, a lot of people who do have a lot of money, they do give, they do share, they are big humanitarians as well, philanthropists and so forth, philanthropy work and all that stuff. Yes, they do that, but however, at the same time, some individuals are detached from the average Joe. The average person with a lot of money does not, they cannot relate unless they have came from the bottom and they got to the top. Then they maybe could relate. But if you are born on the top all of your life, it's going to be difficult for you to actually have some compassion for those who might be at the bottom as well. And so that is a big problem for the God realm. Individuals who are on the top, they run the risk of actually becoming desensitized for the lesser, the individuals who might be in lesser positions than them. And then, like I said, you have the demigod realm. The demigod realms would be considered like the stars, movie stars, singers, and entertainers, and individuals who have a lot of influence. These individuals might not be as high as the gods per se, but they are just on a lower level. They are demigods. They still have a lot of power. They still have more power than the average uh, individuals in the human realm, but they still have somebody dictating to them what movie roles they can take, what songs they could sing. They still have contracts to sign. They don't basically pull all the punches and they don't call all the shots. So the demigods are very high up there. If you could think of any major star that you could think of, I'm talking about A-list celebrities who are really up there, who are calling some shots, dictating as well. Those would be considered the demigods, but they are less than the gods per se.
realm for that matter of fact, because again, none of the realms are literally permanent. So again, the God realms, it sounds great. However, again, the challenge is to maintain being humble and to maintain being uh, having a humanity perspective, feeling oneness with individuals. And so, and we know this because as money increase, the individual automatically will change. This is not a if, ands, and but, because that's why most individuals pursue money, because they want to change. Why achieve all the money and still be the same? That is next to being impossible. However, some individuals do not change. Some individuals stay the same. However, their lifestyle may change and different things may change, but they still are down to earth. However, in most cases, that is not the case. That is why we have gated communities. We have different clubs that individuals with money can go in, that individuals can't go in. We have first class and planes. We have private planes. We have a certain level of cars. You know, Nissan, Sunny, straight up the Bugatti, and the list goes on and on. You know, we could buy a Seiko watch, we could buy a Rolex, and we could buy a Patek Philippe or Philippe Patek or whatever the watch may be. You know what I'm saying? A Jacob and Co. However, that is what I'm saying. There's different levels to the God realm. So when we look at the demigod realm, just like I said, different levels. A star might be able to afford a Mercedes, a regular Mercedes, and then you know he's the demigod realm. They're constantly fighting each other, wanting to get to a different level, constantly wanting to get more. And we see this in everyday life. The demigod is constantly, the stars and the people with the money, they have to constantly fight to maintain the level of prosperity that they have. They cannot necessarily just sit back and relax and just let it flow. They have to continuously fight for different scenes, movie scenes, different songs, or whatever they are. They constantly have to compete to be number one on the song charts. They have to compete to be number one at the movie box office. It is a constant struggle from a god, from a demigod perspective, because it's not permanent. So, and we see that again in the demigod and the god. Again, the 1%, the true elites that take control of the world, and then we have the demigods, the big stars that still are above the human realm, and then we have the human realm, the human.
So just a brief recap on the demigod realm. And so when you study the Buddhist concept of the six realms, the demigods, they are constantly and they are constantly fighting one another, trying to get up the ladder. They want to move up to success. They want to move up. That is why they call it the rat race. Doggy dog world, dog eat, dog eat your lunch, and the list goes on and on. So we know that. So though these guys, all women, they may enter the demigod realm, they may be successful singers, entertainers, movie stars, whatever, even academia, even on a job, they may be fighting for position, CEO and vice president, and the list goes on and on and on. But it's a constant battle according to the Buddhists, when you're in the demigod realm, you're always fighting. Someone is always trying to take your position. Someone is always trying to stab you in the back. Someone is always trying to pull you down, like the black crab syndrome. And that is true, just like the Buddhists in the Buddhist concept of the six realms in the demigod realm. That same thing applies in the real world today. As you move up the ladder, the corporate ladder, there's always going to be somebody wanting to take your spot. There's always going to be somebody behind you. There's always somebody wanting to see you fail so they can just be the next in line. So that is the way life is. So these concepts, when we understand these concepts, you will see a direct correlation between the six realms, whether they be literal, metaphorical, spiritual, or mental, whatever they may be. We will see that they are literally direct correlations to the world and the activities and the way individuals act and behave in the world today. The world is just like how these six realms operate. The ghosts, the godly, the god realms, the 1% who are on top control the world, dictate. They make all the rules. They push all, make all, call all the shots. And then the demigods, the stars, the A1 celebrities, the locals, the people beneath them, they look up to them and they worship them, and they worship the dirt that they walk on. And the same exact same thing applies. And we see these stars constantly have to fight to keep their position. They have to work too. They are not just gods up there, and they are not exempt from falling. They can fall if they make the wrong mistake. You see stars every day in the tabloids and the media for making bad decisions. You see one star one day was a billionaire. Next 10, 15 years, this star's, working at Starbucks. So that's what I'm talking about. The realms are not permanent. Just like life. 1 minute you could be at the bottom, the next minute you could be at the top. 1 minute you're at the top, you could be at the bottom. And I will say this, it's far more easier to fall from the top to the bottom than to rise from the bottom to the top.
Realm is the individuals who just have regular lives, go to work day to day, just barely trying to make it to pay bills and so forth. They don't have they don't have a Maybach, they don't have a Lamborghini, they don't have a Ferrari, they don't live in a big penthouse anywhere. They just pretty much on the regular 9 to 5, and they just struggle and so forth and so forth. However, from the Buddhist perspective, the earthly realm or the human realm is one of the most, if I may say, the most prized and the most cherished realm to be in, because in the human realm, we have the opportunity to become enlightened. We have the opportunity to go to another realm, to the demigod realm or the god realm. And we see that individuals, we see again all of these realms, every single one of these realms, we can see these realms taking place in the world today. That is why, like I said, some individuals, some Buddhists, some individuals would say that these realms are literal. Some individuals would say these realms are metaphorical realms, and they represent the reality that we experience today. And we can see this, quite easily. Like I said, the human realm is again the most sought after realm, because that realm is where individuals have the opportunity to basically grow and learn and become better individuals, better humans. And this is the realm where we could find the most compassionate, we could be the most compassionate, we can grow and we can love and we can care for each other. And because we understand we are more literally down to earth in the human realm. However, as we go up, people tend to become snobby when they get into the demigod realm, when they go into the god realms. However, the human realm is more, again, the most preferred realm, because this is the realm that we can find enlightenment and we can actually come to know ourselves. And this is one of the reasons, again, the main reason that all of the videos that I create is to know thyself in this realm. And so, again, the human realm is the realm that is considered the most precious and the most prized realm. So again, enjoy your life, live your life to the fullest. And this is what we're talking about today. And I'm gonna skip the other two realms. I'm gonna skip the animal realm, because we know what the animal kingdom is all about. And I'm gonna skip the ghost realm and go straight to the hell realm. But again, you guys, there's a lot of information about this all over online. You can look up the six realms, the Buddhist Six Realms, and find out more information. I might do another video again and cover all the realms, but however, I was specifically talking about hell today. So then you have the hell realm.
And so let me just go back very briefly. So according to the Buddhists, the human realm is the most prized realm. That is why it is a blessing to be alive. If you are alive today, you are alive. That is a gift to be alive. It's better to be alive than to be dead. If I may say, so it is a blessing. I cannot stress that enough. And so be grateful, be thankful, especially if you are in great health, if you have all your faculties, if you can move, if you could talk, if you could walk, and even if you cannot if you do not have all your faculties, and you still should try to at least be grateful to be. I know it might not be easy. It might not be. It might be a challenge at the same time because I don't know. I have all my faculties per se, and I am in great health per se. Knock on wood at this time, and I know even this too shall pass at some point because nothing is permanent. Everything is all changing. So there will come a time too. Hopefully not, but again, knock on wood. But at the same time, I am grateful to be alive. I cannot stress that enough how important it is that we try to cherish the one life that we have, try to enjoy life as much as possible, rather than waste all of our energy focusing on things that we believe and we don't know what's going to happen, to be factual, but we waste all of our lives in fear of hell, working so hard to go to heaven, when we actually have one of the most precious gifts that exists today is to be alive. So I cannot stress it enough. Being a human in the human realm, according to the Buddhists, this is the realm that we are most likely able to grow the most because we have the most compassion in the human realm for one another. We love the most in the human realm. We can relate to each other more in the human realm. This is the realm that humans tend to uh, come together most in the human realm when individuals move up in the higher realms, the demigod realms. There's more division, there's more fighting, there's more worried about someone trying to steal your money and this and that, and so we see a lot of that going on in the demigod realm. And in the god realm there's complete separation because those individuals, they are in a category of their on their own, and their job is to just stay on the top always for generations and generations and generations to come. That's all they do is try to maintain the status quo. So in the human realm is more the most preferred realm according to the Buddhists. And then now we're going to talk about the hell realm. And this realm is going to be completely different than what we've been told, what you heard about the Abrahamic faiths, Christianity, Islam, and different Abrahamic faiths. Their concept of hell is a completely different concept from the Buddhist hell realm. So check it out and see what it has to say.
The hell realm is a realm where there's ultimate suffering, and there's a constant bombardment of ailments and different things of that sort, and lack of pleasure and very little benefits of that sort. And that all makes sense. Hell, that being the way hell is in the hell realm. And we could see also the hell realm inside of the world today as well. Individuals being born inside of extreme poverty. Individuals have extreme physical disabilities, challenges. They're starving individuals all over the world. I mean, some of the atrocities is unbelievable. We cannot even, some of us who live normal lives, we think our lives are hard, but we have no idea how it is for some individuals in some really impoverished nations. So, and according to basically some nations, some individuals, because of the magnitude of the poverty, some of us who are living in the human realms, we are actually living like we are demigods, or we are living in the god realm. So, however, again, we could see the hell realm being also it's displayed inside the world today. with many individuals, atrocities, suffering, deformities, and things of that sort would be considered the hell realm. But again, however, remember, all of these things are not permanent. So just like the God realm, the individuals who are going to be in the 1% who dictate the world and who dictate to the world, I should say, and they make the rules and so forth, their lives are also not permanent. They too shall pass, they too shall dissipate and disappear, and they too also shall be no more. Just like the demigods, yes, their lives may be better and so forth than the average. However, they too will also dissipate and disappear, and they too will actually no longer exist as well. So we see again, there is no permanency in any of these realms, whether it be the Buddhist realm, whether it be the Buddhist realm, whether it be the God realm, the realm of the gods, it's temporal. Whether it be the demigods, their realm is also temporal as well. Or whether it be the human realm is temporal as well. And again, the hell realm is also temporal as well. And again, that is what I think that is more compassionate per se from a Buddhist perspective. The all of the suffering is all temporal. None of it is permanent. So that is a little more from a compassion perspective, rather than being permanently tortured, punished, and burned to the crisp like toast permanently. That sounds a lot more compassionate to me than anything else. So it just gives each individual an opportunity to learn their lesson and learn what it's like to have, and that way everyone could, go through a cycle of having haves and have-nots rather than individuals just suffering forever. Because let's say, for example, you were born in the hell realm, in this realm, and you suffered and you suffered and you suffered and you paid your karmic debt and you came to some. And however, I will say this: all of the realms, the most easiest realm to come to the enlightenment is the human realm, because as we know, if you are suffering, it's very difficult to come to some God realization and to know yourself and think about all of these deep philosophical subjects, because all on your mind is survival. Individuals who are living in extreme poverty, they don't really care that much. Yes, they might believe in God and all of that. However, their lives are really based on survival day by day. Each day they're trying to live their lives. Each day they're trying to just make it another day. They're not here talking about, they're not trying to create no YouTube channel and talk about philosophical topics that some people don't even want to listen to. They're not concerned about buying any cars or, Rolex watches and, things of that sort, Jacob and Co. They don't care about anything about those things. They care about one day at a time, living one day at a time, just like the animal realms. The animal realms live off instinct.
Let me just go back very briefly. Like I was saying, that the hell realm just a little lower than the human realm. The hell realm is pure suffering. There's no break. It's a constant fight. It's a constant struggle, survival, fighting for food, fight for whatever the case may be. And we see that as well in today's world as well. Individuals that were born in extreme poverty, those of us who have not been on those levels, we cannot even fathom what it's like. Even most of us, some of us who have been born in first world countries, we have no idea what it is to suffer. Even on our worst days, we've always had some type of assistance. You could go to the government, you could go get some kind of food help, you could get shelter, you could go live in a, it's always some type of assistance there. Even in like some third world countries, some third world islands per se, individuals have some type of assistance. But some places are so, the atrocity, the poverty is so serious, you guys can't even fathom. You guys, on your worst day of hunger, you just had to wait a few hours. You might have been hungry for a few hours because you had to wait till somebody came home from work or to bring some food, or you had to wait till you got off from work. Some of these people go days and days and days and days just breaking the human limits of the barrier between life and death. These individuals, for example, you might not be in the best, you may live in certain places, you might not have everything, but those individuals are not thinking, like I said, they're not thinking about getting a car, they're not thinking about buying Rolex watches, they're not thinking about Jacob and Co. They're not thinking about Fendi purses. They are thinking about surviving day by day. These guys are not thinking about creating any YouTube channel. You see, I have the luxury to create a YouTube channel. I have a system, a little computer, I have a little some lights, I have a little sound, and you understand me? This is a luxury. I'm living like a god to compare you and I, and there are individuals who are living way, way, way bigger than me. But I'm saying to you, I am living the things that I have, the things that I take for granted. It's like I would be considered a demigod in the human realm to compare to those who may be living in the hell realm, because those individuals live day by day, suffering all day. They are not thinking about creating any YouTube live stream and views and clicks and analytics and all this shit. No, they are just trying to make it one day at a time. They try to figure out where the next meal is going to come from. You watch some of those videos. They get some of those videos with those guys. I can't remember what those guys. The has something has bot tribe or something. I can't remember those guys' name. But somewhere some of those tribes, those guys, they don't know what day it is. They don't count days like how we know it's Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. All they know is when the sun rises, they get their bow and arrow and they get up and they go hunt. And they know when the sun falls. They watch the sun. They look at when the sun is going to fall. They know they have X amount of time to catch something, and they will catch anything. If anything moves, they catch it and they eat it. They don't care. They're not thinking about no Burger King and no fish fry, and they whatever it may be, they catch and they eat. Baboons, raccoons, rats, whatever. I can't even think of nothing else. But the moral of the story is they will eat anything that moves. And those guys don't even know what day it is of the week. Those guys are not thinking about promotion and race. Yes, they may have some leader inside of the tribe, some leader in the tribe or something of the sort, some hierarchy system, maybe the elders or whatever the case may be. But those guys are not thinking about climbing the corporate ladder and all that bullshit. They are not talking about the rat race. Those guys, every day is about go out, hunt some food, and bring it back so our families could eat and survive and make it another day. There's no cell phone, no YouTube, no none of that bullshit that we have going on every day. So sometimes what we need to do is we need to look at our lives and look and sometimes compare our lives others because there are some people again literally living in the hell realm, and their life is like literally atrocious to compare to what we have. So sometimes we really need to try our best to really be grateful. Look and see. There are 5 things that I try to do uh, every morning. I try to do it. I try. This is like a little prayer. I'm gonna tell you guys a little secret. You know what I'm saying? One thing I try to do. These are some of the mental states I try to think of. I try to. I think if I remember clearly, it's Romans 8, 28. Proverbs, Romans 8:28 says that all things work together for the good of those who love the Lord. So I try to think of this every day. Everything that happens to me is working out for my good. And I try, and as the more I do that, I see how much things that I thought was a bad thing that happened to me in the past. I've thought so much things that was the worst thing that ever happened to me. Some things happened to me, and I said to myself, God damn, it's over. I'm not gonna put. How could I get through this? How could I make it through this? And when I look back, like they say, hindsight, or whatever it is, when I look back and I see how that thing actually helped me to progress, I was grateful. I became grateful when I saw the very thing that I thought was going to destroy me, the very thing that I thought was designed to kill me or just mash me up. It was the thing that actually became one of my greatest assets. So I try to look at life. Everything happens to me is working out for my good. the good and the bad. I might not see it at times, and I could give you guys a list of things, so many things that has happened to me, and I thought that they were such the worst things that have happened. How could this have happened? Why did this happen? And when I look back at it now, if that thing didn't happen, I would not be where I am today. If that thing didn't happen, I would not be the person I am today. If that thing didn't happen, I would not have the mentality that I have today. And I'm talking about the good and the bad. So I try to every day, I try to look at my life, whatever happens, I try to think of that. And when I look at life and I say all things is working out my favor, as time goes on, I will look back, and very shortly after that, something good is going to come out of that. So everything that's happening to you, it might seem to be like a bad thing, it might be like a feel like a negative thing that's going on, but I guarantee you, if you stick in there and you hang in there and you just hang on, if you do the right thing, I guarantee you're gonna look back and you're gonna be grateful that that thing ever happened to you, because that thing, without that negative thing ever happening to you, that thing was the thing, the catalyst to push you in the right direction. That thing was the catalyst to make you make the decision that you could not have made without on your own. That man left you, that woman left you, that job fired you, whatever it is that you thought was such a bad thing at the time, that thing was a good thing that happened for you. In most cases, that is the case. Unless something bad happened to you, really, really bad, and even then, all things work together for the good. That thing is still a lesson, But again, I'm not saying if something really, really bad happens to you that you're gonna, it's gonna be all good. But at the same time, there is gonna be some lesson in it for you as well. So one of the things that I think of every morning, every day, every throughout the day, all things work together for the good. And then on top of that, I try to be courageous. I think of trying to be courageous, be confident. I try to be kind. I try to be grateful, and then also I try to be. So it's just, I think it's five things. I can't remember. All things work together for the good. Oh yes, there's all things work together for the good. Be optimistic. Be confident. Be kind. Be grateful. And then I have to stay ready, so I don't have to get ready. That's all I. So I'm expecting good things to happen. I'm expecting positive things to happen. Right now, I'm starting this channel. I'm doing these things. I don't have much viewers. I have very few viewers. There's only a few viewers, but hey, I am so grateful for the few viewers that's actually watching me. And even if it never grows, I just want one person, even one person, take something from what I'm doing and take something from what I'm saying, and it helps that person. One person is all I need to affect. One viewer, one person. And as time goes on, if I continue to do and I continue to stick in it, I guarantee you in X amount of time, my viewership will go up, my subscribers will go up, my viewers will go up. All of this will come in time, but I have to be consistent and I have to be persistent. I have to keep pushing. I have to put 10 toes down to the ground. Like I said, I expect good things to happen to me. I expect things to work out in my favor. I expect all things to work out in my favor for the good. And once I continue to be confident, positive, courageous, and kind and grateful, there's nothing else to be said.
I will go into the animal realm. The animal realm is going off instinct, just like animals, and the animal realms also is seeing as humans just going off instinct, day by day, whatever comes along, they do it. They do whatever they have to do to survive. And just like the animals, we live like animals as well. So again, you will see the similarities with all of these realms, and then we have the hungry ghost. I might as well just continue on and say all of the realms, because so far I've covered the god realm, so far I've covered the demigod, so far I've covered the human realm, so far I've covered the animal realm, and then we have the hungry ghost.
And so I briefly spoke about the animal realm, and so the animal realm is similar, just like the animals living off instincts. Humans live in animal realms as well. We live off instincts. Every day is about survival. Just like animals, animals don't plan and plot and scheme how they're gonna take over the world like humans, and they don't plan and plot how they're gonna do this and do that, and get a car, and then they're gonna build a house. And no, they all they care about is food and survival and shelter. That's all animals care about. And humans who live in animal realms, they too also live like basically live off instincts. How am I gonna make it? Another animal realm is just a little lower, a little lower than the human realms, but they are more so even in more poverty, more impoverished per se, but getting ready to enter the hell realm, but they could survive some way, somehow. But for those individuals in the animal realm, they are not really happy. They are just kind of, like I said, living day by day. They are not necessarily alive, just like animals. They don't have the same awareness as humans. They don't have the same level of compassion and capacity for others as well, because they're so caught up on survival, just like animals. When humans living in animal realms, they too are just about day-to-day survival, concerned about where they're going to sleep tonight and what they're going to eat the next few minutes as well.
The hungry ghost realm is the realm that the individuals cannot, their thirst cannot be quenched. There's always a greed, there's always a need for more. They are never full, their bellies are never full, and they always want more, more, more. And we could see this realm, in the real world as well. Like I said, the Buddhist concepts of these realms, some individuals take it to be literal, some individuals take them to be metaphorical. However, when we look at these things from a metaphorical perspective, we see that the realms are also almost an exact replica of what is going on in the world today. Individuals from all aspects. So the hungry realm is the individuals who basically just live. They basically have they constantly have greed. Never could be filled. The cessation is always wanting more, more, more. Never could get enough. Never could be just happy and content with all the things that they have in this world today. So that would be the hungry realm. Individuals who just want more money, more power, more greed, more lust, more this, more that. Always a more, more, more. They are never, ever, ever content. And that is what we're talking about, the hungry realm. So far, and we see this again with individuals with money and individuals wanting more stuff, and never, no matter what they have, no matter what car they have, no matter what things they possess, they are constantly just seeking more, 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 never, never, ever, ever, ever content with the things that they do have. And that is the hungry ghost realm. And we see that again in today's world as well. So again, the sixth realm, we see every single realm that the Buddhists speak about in the world today. All mental states, whether they be physical, mental states, or metaphorical, but we do see these things in the real world today. We see the God realm, the individuals just who the elite, the very elite, just who take control over all of the other assets and have all the control. These the individuals, the 1% individuals, these individuals are the ones that actually dictate and rule reality as well. So again, so we have the 1%, these individuals, we see these individuals taking control over all assets, all resources, and things of that sort, the godly realm. Then we see the individuals in the demigod realm, the stars, the mega stars, the individuals who still have a great authority and influence in the world. However, they have to struggle somewhat to maintain the position. They have someone still above them, the gods dictating the movies that they play, the roles and the songs that they make, and things of that sort. We see that as well. Then we all know the human realm, all of us who are living in the human realm know that life is a life of challenges, suffering. We have to work hard, we have to do things to make things come out in our favor. We all know this in the human realm. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad, sometimes there's peace, sometimes there's war, and so forth and so forth. Then we know we have the animal kingdom. All of us know that animals survive of instincts, and some individuals also live like animals, just everyday instincts, and they can't do anything else. They just have to do whatever it takes. They follow their job and they do things that they don't necessarily want to do, but they do those things out of survival skills. Then we have the hungry ghosts, the individuals who basically cannot get their thirst quenched. They cannot get their thirst quenched, and they constantly just want more, 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 more. These are the hungry ghost individuals. And then we have the suffering, the hell realm individuals who are born into great extreme poverty, extreme suffering, extreme depravities, things of that sort. Life challenges is just overwhelming and insurmountable. So we see all of the realms, but again, none of these realms are permanent. Even the Buddhist hell realm is a place that you go temporary to basically burn off the karma. And again, that sounds a lot more empathetic and sympathetic to me than being, again, burned to a total crisp for eternity. However, again, I am not picking or advocating on any particular belief. I'm just here to educate because I know some individuals are more sensitive about their beliefs than others. That is why we have all the wars in the world today, because we are willing to kill and die for our beliefs. So it's not, I'm just not making these clarifications for clarification's sakes. I just know how some people are when it comes down to their beliefs. They will die for what they believe, and they believe they will die for what they believe, but however, they don't really know what they believe and why they believe what they believe. So again, those are the six realms. And I'm
Let me just say something very quickly because I did not elaborate on the hungry ghost realm. I am sure we know somebody, everybody knows somebody who seems to not, cannot get enough. And it's okay to be ambitious, it's very okay to have drive, and it's okay to want to succeed and to be successful in life. That is fine. However, there are some individuals, no matter what they do, how much success they have, they always want more and more. And I understand because I have not really, I too myself, am not to the place where I would like to be success wise. I still have goals to meet, and I still have ambitions and things that I've not, levels that I've not reached to as yet. I am still climbing that success ladder as well. And so, however, I do know, so I've heard, because I've never made it to that extent of success, but I've heard some individuals who have made it to great success that once you reach a level of success, it becomes somewhat addictive. I too could understand because after making some progress, I feel like, wow, I achieved this. Now I want to make another step up. Yes, I achieved that. I always so I understand how it feels to make some progress and some success and want to make one step further. But however, at the same time, I'm talking about individuals who are never, ever, ever, ever content with their achievements. They are in that hungry ghost realm. They are constantly thirsty. They are constantly hungry. Their stomachs could never be filled no matter what, because whatever they achieve, they never take the time to smell the roses. They never take the time to enjoy themselves and say, wow, this is great. I am so grateful. They never take the time to take a deep breath and exhale and say, wow, and look at their achievements. It's always more, more, more. And they are willing to do anything for that matter of fact. They're willing to step on anyone's toes. They're willing to take lives. They're willing to do anything. That is this hungry ghost realm that I'm talking about, where greed and hunger and thirst could never, ever, 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 ever be quenched. That is the hungry ghost realm. And then now we're talking about the ghost, the hell realm, where the atrocities and the and suffering is insurmountable and beyond our comprehension. Again, some individuals are living their lives as if they are literally in the hell realms, whereas almost nothing is working in their favor. It's almost as if the only thing that's working in their favor is that they are alive. That is it. And if you ask them if you could take their life away, they would actually, if they could opt for their life to be taken away, they would do it as well. That is how bad it is to be living in the hell realm, and some individuals literally are living that way today. Sickness and poverty, and the list goes on and on and on. Violence, abuse, and trauma, and I mean, insurmountable, non stop, all day, 24/7, 48, 14, 365 days a year. Most of us cannot even fathom what it is to live like that, but however, there are some people who are literally living in hell. That is why I said again, the Buddhist six realms, they can be taken literal, or they can be taken as simply states of mind, because they are literal. Every realm that I discuss, there is actual real life examples of human life forms living in each and every one of those conditions. The ghost realm, sorry, the god realm, the demigod realm, the human realm, the ghost realm, the animal realm, and the hell realm. They are literal humans living and experiencing each and every one of those realms. So whether the Buddhists consider those to be literal or not, they are literal experiences today.
I'm going to end this video very soon, which brings me to another example. I can't remember if it was the Buddhist. I'm not sure if it was a Buddhist story. Most likely it's a Buddhist story, Buddhist or Hindu, I'm not quite sure. Veda Vedanta, I'm not quite sure. But anyhow, it was a hungry ghost. It was a hungry ghost story. Uh, there was an individual. There was an individual who, a disciple, who came to his teacher, and he asked his teacher, "Where's hell?" And the teacher said that, "Let me show you." So he took the individual up to a palace, and it was a big, big palace. It was a big palace. Again, I can't remember if it's a Buddhist story or Hindu story, because the story just came to my mind, because as we know by now, all of these videos are unscripted. I'm pretty much talking on the top of the dome. Whatever comes to my mind, I speak about. However, like I was saying again, so the student asked the teacher, where's hell? So the teacher said that he would show him where hell was. So we took him to a place. It was a fish. I'm sorry. He took the student to a huge castle. There was a castle, and there was many rooms, and it was just humongous. So the teacher told the student, he said, "Look at those guys over there." So there was a room full of individuals. I mean, packed with individuals, and there was a big bowl of soup. I mean, a huge, huge, huge bowl of soup. And each individual was trying to get the food. They was trying to get the soup. Each individual had a very long spoon. It was a long, 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 long spoon. It was like, 3 foot long. It was a long, even maybe longer than that, but it was a long, long spoon. And normally a spoon would have like a very small little, scoop at the bottom of it. But this particular spoon that these individuals had, they had like mugs. There was huge, huge mugs at the end of the spoon, at least at the end of the stick. And then they was all fighting, trying to get the soup. They was fighting, and the soup was all over the floor. And I mean, they was going crazy over the soup. So they would pour, when one individual would take the spoon, and take a big scoop of the mug of the soup. And by the time he gets the soup, before he gets the soup, to eat the soup, somebody takes it out of his hand and knocks it over, and the soup spills on the ground. And I mean, it was just pure chaos over this food. And they would fight day and night, and no one was able to get the food, because they were just fighting. The food, I mean, it was just a big mess. So one individual was able to get the spoon, because again, remember, the spoon is like 3 feet long, or longer. So the individual was able to get some of the soup up, and he finally got it to come close to his in a vicinity to eat the soup. But because the spoon was so long, he was unable to eat the soup, because again, the spoon was very, very long. It was a long spoon, so he couldn't get it to his mouth, and he was trying to pour it in his mouth, and he couldn't get it to his mouth, and he was wasting all the soup. The soup was just pouring all over the place, and it was just one big mess. And he was hungry. I mean, everybody's mouth was full of saliva. Everybody was just dribbling over the food, but they couldn't get the soup. And it's just the individual, he just cried and cried, because the soup couldn't reach his mouth, because the stick was so long. And so the teacher said, "Young man, that is hell." And so the young man looked at it and he said, "Wow, that really is, it looks like hell for real." And so the teacher, he took him to another room, and then where he saw the individuals was a lot more calm. They was, more cooperative. They actually was helping each other. One individual poured the soup, and one individual took the long spoon, and he took the mug, and then he scooped out some of the soup, instead of trying to put the soup to his mouth like the individuals in hell. Rather than trying to put the soup to his mouth like the individuals in hell, what they did instead was they took the spoon and then they passed the mug to each individual, and each individual was able to eat from. So they basically shared the food and they shared the soup. They gave each individual uh, the mug from the long end, and they shared, and then they passed it on. The individual who couldn't get the soup to his mouth, he gave the soup, the spoon, the long spoon, to somebody else, and then he was able to eat. And they was all cooperating. There was no soup on the floor. Everybody was full. Everybody was content. Everybody was happy, and that was the example of heaven. So when we take that example and we look at heaven and hell from that perspective, that is exactly how the world is today. So the world is just like the individuals with the long spoons, all for me. Just I want this, I want that, I don't care about you. It's all about me, baby. That is what the hell represented, the individuals just trying their best to look out for themselves, trying their best to eat, trying their best to get the food, trying their best to get the bag, trying their best to get the whatever they're trying to get, the perfect life, but they don't care about anybody else. They don't cooperate with anybody. They will step on anybody to get what they want. That would be an example of the house with the individuals with the long spoon who no one was able to get any of the food or the soup because they themselves were just being selfish and they just wanted to eat the soup for themselves, but they didn't share, they didn't cooperate. And then a heaven example would be the individuals who took the food they took the long spoon and they shared and they passed the spoon around with the big mug, and everybody was able to eat. Everybody was able to eat and be content, and no one was actually hungry at all. So I hope you understand that would be a good example of heaven, whereas individuals in the world would help each other, look out for each other, and want to actually try to make sure everybody else eat and doesn't care too much about themselves, putting themselves first, because the Bible says, do unto others as you have others do unto you. And if we look at the world today, that would be more so an example of hell. So if we understand where I'm going with this, so we can look at the world today, hell would be more so the individual's mindset. If the individual has an all for me baby type of attitude, a wicked or evil mentality, the world will also portray that back to that individual as well, because the world is actually a mirror of the internal. The external is an internal reflection of what one feels inside. So if you have a lot of wickedness, selfishness, and greed, and things of that sort, do not care for anybody else, then the world will reflect that back to you, and you will be living you will be living in hell. And then those who have more of a caring mentality, more of a sharing mentality, like the individuals with the long spoon who cooperated and want to help each other, those individuals who would actually see the need to help and care for each other, those individuals will be living in heaven. Because if you have more of a caring mentality, more of a sharing mentality, loving mentality, the world will reflect that back to you as well. So that is what I'm saying today. We can see heaven and hell more so as the life that we are living. The reflection that life is showing us is somewhat an example of heaven and hell. It does not have to be a literal place. It could be more so of a metaphorical place. But again, I am not here to debate with any Christians or anyone who have a belief that this is a literal place. I'm here just to educate, because I'm sure that some individuals who have a belief that this place is real, they too also would tend to just want to condemn me, say, oh, I'm going to hell, but I'm not here to do all of that. I'm just giving individuals information about the different perspectives from different cultures and different belief systems, so that they will be more educated and make wiser decisions with their lives. So another factor we can look at, for example, hell. Again, hell was someplace created according to religion's beliefs. Hell was
Let me just go back very quickly and briefly, because that was something else I think deserved mentioning. Like I said, also, the reality that we see in the world today is a reflection of our inner world. The outside world is a reflection of our inner world. So if you have your inner world is mainly peace, joy, love, happiness, the world, the outside, the external world will reflect that as well, like a mirror. If your inside world is based on hatred, greed, animosity, fear, and all of these different negative feelings and belief systems, you will see more of that surrounding you as well. So we see outside what is inside, and so therefore we do not also attract what we want, we attract who we are. So our internal feelings and beliefs sends off signals, or if I may say, and creates that same replica, that reality outwardly as well. So if we are living outside and externally with a lot of negativity and different things of that sort, it is most likely, highly probable, possible that that is also a reflection of what is going on internally. And some individuals may say, no, no, that's not the case, that's not how I feel. But you may not be aware of this because a lot of these things are subconscious. You may have subconscious beliefs that is controlling uh, your 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 actions. You might not know why you're doing the things you do. You might not know why you're believing the things that you believe. So your subconscious mind might be saying, "Hey, I'm not good enough." You might have self-confidence issues, self-esteem issues. You might have all type of different issues that's going on behind the scenes that's programming the reality that we see. And so, therefore, if you have more of a hellish type of internal belief system, emotional uh, chaos, and all those things, you will see a reflection of that as well in the world also. Now, if you have more so of a positive outlook, more of a happy, harmonious cooperation type of internal belief system, the world will actually reflect that to you as well. I'm not saying that you're not going to experience anything negative. I'm not saying that you're not going to have any problems or any challenges or anything of that sort. But however, it's not so much as what happens to us, it's more so much as how we respond to what happens to us that really matters the most.
A place uh, in the earth, the middle of the earth. If we dig a hole in the earth, deep, deep in the earth, deep down in the earth, will we find this place called hell? There's one or two crazy videos online, YouTube, talking about some scientists dug some hole, dug a deep, deep hole, and they heard screaming and gnashing of teeth and people screaming and crying. That is some one or two videos are online about that. But however, realistically speaking, if we dig a hole deep, deep, deep at the core of the earth, the scientists said there's molten lava in the earth, and the earth is some big hot core of lava, something of that sort. That is at the core of the earth, according to scientists. But again, so if we dig a hole in the earth deep, 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 will we find this place called hell? I assume not. However, again, I'm not here to disprove anything of a place called hell. I'm just talking about some of the information that I know. So again, if we dig deep and down, will we find a space called hell? And so, which brings me to another point: who actually goes to hell? So again, from a Buddhist Hindu perspective and from a Veda Vedanta perspective, I am constantly talking about who am I? Who is the individual, the non-self, the false self, the self that cannot be, the self that cannot perish, that does not die, the true self that is not affected by anything. So if even if there was some hell, the hell is more so of a dream state, again, a temporal place, a dream state uh, uh, place, more so that is not so much permanent, more again like a dream state, because the true self that you are cannot be harmed or burnt up forever, or it cannot just be damaged. So from that perspective, no one is going to hell because there is no one to go to hell. No individuals are actually going to hell because there is no one to go to hell. So when we look at, for example, this is going to be my final example. I'm going to end on this. We look at the invention.
let me go back and say that very briefly. Go back and recap on that very briefly because I know that may have kind of uh, went over a few individuals' head because that concept is very, very, very deep. So, like according to the Buddhists, again, the Buddhists and the Hindus believe, or I should not even say believe, because I too meditate and I too understand, I too also advocate that consciousness is fundamental and everything else is changing. I am not my emotions, I'm not my title, I am not my body. I too understand these aspects as well, the ever changing and so forth and so on. So at the same time, however, what the ultimate goal in Hinduism, Buddhism is Jivan Mukti, to basically come to know thyself, to awakening, enlightenment is to know who you are, know thyself, which can only be achieved through meditation, introspection, and questioning the self, and finding out what you are and what you are not, understanding the difference between the isness, the consciousness, the beingness of who you are, and what you mistakenly mistake yourself for, the ego, the identity, the false self. Most of us identify ourselves as the I am the body, I am a male, I am a female, I am a doctor, I am a lawyer, I am a carpenter, I am a beautician, I am a nurse, I am a caretaker, I am a janitor. Whatever it is, we tend to identify ourselves with these objective things, and many of us do not ever come to the core of who we are through self-realization, through the process of enlightenment. And so, according to the understanding of the Buddhist understanding, this core self, this isness, this body, this isness, sorry, this isness, this non-self, the true self cannot be injured. The true self consciousness cannot be affected. Just like the movie screen, like I said, if a movie screen there's a horror movie on the screen is not affected. If there's a drama on the screen is not affected. If there's a comedy on the screen is not affected. Just like the sky behind me, if the clouds are gray, the space that holds the skies that holds the clouds is not affected. When there's thunder and lightning, there's a rainstorm, hurricane, the space, the container that holds everything in it is not affected. So once we understand who we are and what we are at the core, we will understand that the core self, the isness, the beingness, the consciousness that you are, cannot be affected by anything. So even if there was a hell to go to, you cannot suffer because the thing that you truly are is imperishable. It cannot be disrupted. It's like your mind, we're talking about something that's not tangible and physical, that cannot be burnt or smashed or broken. So therefore, when we look at it from that perspective, who goes to hell? Who burns in hell? Nobody goes to hell because nobody really technically exists. Very deep concept, but hey, I'm just stating. So we have to look at things more so from a dream state perspective, from an illusory perspective. The false self may have these beliefs and all of these things, but when you come to know who you are, the core essence of who you are, cannot be affected by such a thing, if such a thing ever existed, called hell. And like I said, if the earth is literally round, we have some individuals say that the earth is also flat. We have the flat earthers. I'm not here to debate whether the earth is flat or not. All I'm simply saying is that if the earth really is round, we already know the size of the earth and so forth. But let's for example take an apple or a tennis ball. If you take a long drill, and you take a drill and you run a drill through the tennis ball from the top to the bottom and go straight through, think of the earth that way. If we could take a drill or some long pole and push it through the earth, and a drill goes from the North Pole to the South Pole, or the South Pole to the North, goes straight through, will we find this place called hell? Do we really think that there's some place in the core of the earth where people are actually literally burning up and gnashing of teeth and crying and moaning and groaning, literally in the middle of the earth, would sounds more realistic? Is this hell more of a mental place, or is this hell more of a physical place? Because again, we were told that the hell is in the earth, below the earth, and we also know Sheol is also related. The grave sometimes is misconstrued to be labeled as hell as well. Sometimes we think of below the earth, we get hell and the grave confused, but we know that we will go below the earth when we are buried. But when we're talking about in the core of the earth, is hell there? If we take a drill and drill from the South Pole to the North Pole, or the North Pole to the South Pole, straight through, will we find this place called hell? And if it is not there, then where is it?
Of the spoon, the invention of the spoon, and then later down the line, some individuals say, you know what, we're going to make something called a spoon that could pick up food just like a fork. So they made a spoon into a fork, and so they invented the spoon and a fork, what they call a spork. If I remember clearly, it's called a spork, a spoon fork. And then we have cars. Individual's cars was originally made to travel on the land, but then now we have cars that could go in the sea as well. And then we have cars that actually can fly. We have planes that was originally made for the air, but then now as time went on, we have planes that could go in the sea. So we have seaplanes. So all of these things were inventions. So when you look at things from an invention perspective, we look at these things were created for one thing, one purpose, but however, as man became more creative, the thing was invented for it to be used for something else as well. So the same thing applies for hell. Hell was once a place made for the angels, the fallen angels. However, it became a place for men as well. So from looking at that logic, we could say that hell was also a place that was also invented as well. So, however, when we come to the place of knowing ourselves, there is no need to fear this place called hell, whether it be mental, physical, psychological, or whatever the case may be, because there is no self to burn in hell. The only thing we can do is to know thyself. So with that being said, I'm going to end this video on that note. And once again, thank you guys for watching. I really appreciate everything and so support. Please share, like, and subscribe, and all of that good stuff. And once again, Triple P, and I'm out.
Oh. Yeah, just a very brief recap on that very last statement that I said. Like I said, according to scriptures, hell was originally made for the angels. It was not originally made for humans, but like I said earlier as well, at one point in time, we created the spoon. The spoon was created to scoop things up, food, liquids and different things that are sort of soups and rice and whatever the case may be, but to scoop food up nevertheless. And then later down the line, we created, I don't know which one came first, the spoon or the fork, the chicken or the egg, but we also had the fork was created as well. Fork was more for picking up food, picking up more harder objects, meats and different things of the sort. And so later down the line, someone came up with the idea to connect, to make a spoon what is capable of picking up something like a fork, and they call it a spork. I think that's what it's called, a spork. And so the fork was a creation of the spoon and fork. And so again, just like the hell was also a place created for the angels, but somehow later down the line, hell was also an invention later uh, labeled for humans to keep humans in check as well. Again, I'm not here to debate or question anybody's belief. I'm just saying that originally hell was not a place for humans. Just like the spoon and the fork combined, they combined hell for the angels and the human more so as an invention. But again, from the Buddhist perspective, when we come to know who we are and what we are, and we know ourselves at the core, from the isness, from the consciousness perspective, the beingness perspective, there is no need to fear hell whether it's a physical place or a mental place or whatever it may be. Even if it does exist, there would be no need to fear it, because you yourself at the very core cannot perish and cannot enter hell. So with that being said, I want to thank you guys so much, all of my viewers, for watching the live stream, sticking around, joining the chats, especially this late in the night. I know it's very late, and I thank all of my viewers. I cannot stress the importance of your attention, your time. I cannot thank you guys so enough. Please continue to like, share, subscribe, and follow, and all that good stuff from all the platforms. And as usual, like I always say, if you all please, 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 please stop, discontinue believing in illusions, delusions, and hallucinations. Triple P, and I'm out.